Okay, welcome to our first lesson of linear inequalities, I believe, or linear equations, actually. Linear equations. Okay, so page 23, number 1. It says, which of the following equations represents the line shown in the graph? Now, I've drawn the picture on the dry erase board. So this question right here should save you a lot of time if you do it the quick way. And you should be able to look at it and almost immediately tell what the answer is, and that should save you a full minute on your SAT. And the way you do that is you find the slope. So we're going to go over slope real quick, okay? Slope of a line is you take any 2 points on a line, try to pick 2 points that intersect directly on your graph. And you can actually do this on your workbook if you want. You can draw on your little SAT book with a pencil. I picked this dot and this dot because they're exactly on a line, okay? And I know that the slope is always up or down first and then over to the right. So I go up 1, I go over 4. So my slope is 1/4. So right there, I know the first thing, which answer is the only one that has 1/4 in front of the X? It's number B, okay? And we're gonna work all of these equations out, but I just want to give you the quick answer here. So if it's in standard format, y equals mx plus b. M is your slope, B is your y-intercept. So the quick look at this picture is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It crosses at 6, and the slope is 1/4. Do any equations have that? Have a y, a 1/4, and a 6. And immediately you'd see your answer is B, okay? So that's B. So now I want to go over with you, before we graph those equations, something else about slope, which is anytime you have an option for slopes, because it's always up or down, because it's always how far you go up or down over how far you go to the right. If I have a slope of 8, you turn it into a fraction. That's 8/1. Let's say I start here. I would go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 over 1. Put my second dot here. So this line will be very steep up. Do you see that? How it's very steep? If I do a slope of 4, which is 4/1, that means I go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1. This line is not so steep, okay? So the larger the number, the more drastic the drop in the slope. I'm going to do another one, which is the slope of 1, which is 1/1, up 1/1. Okay. Now all of these slopes are positive slopes because they go uphill. So this is something you definitely want to write on your extra note page for you to remember. Okay. Uphill is positive. Downhill is negative. And that's pretty easy to remember, right? Because if you're going uphill, it's positive. If you're going downhill, it's negative. So these are all positive slopes. And likewise, if I had a slope going like this, would that be positive or negative?
Negative.
Yeah, this is your negative slope. So any slopes that go downhill are negative, okay? Any slopes that go uphill are positive. Now, it doesn't matter. I have all these going through 0, 0, just for simplicity's sake. But I definitely want you to see that anywhere on the graph, it doesn't matter. So if I have a line that goes, let me get a different color. I have a line that goes here. Is that a positive or negative slope?
Negative.
Negative.
Negative. If I have a line that goes here, is it positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive.
Positive. Okay. What about here?
Positive.
Positive.
What about here?
Negative.
Negative.
Yep. Okay, so you kind of get the point, right? It doesn't matter what angle or where they are on the board. If you're going uphill, it's positive, downhill, it's negative. This will save you a lot of time as well on SAT questions. If you notice they give you a line and they say graph this, or which equation represents this line, if two of them have a negative slope, those are automatically not an option. Okay, if it goes uphill, mark those two off. That'll save you a lot of time, because the thing about the SAT is you want to cut time wherever you can and spend it where you need to. So definitely keep this in your notes. Uphill's positive, downhill's negative. Maybe draw a few little quick examples of what that means. Okay. Okay. So that one okay, the Y-intercept. We didn't go over that just yet, but if you look at the original, if you look at the picture on your paper, you will see that we have different options for Y-intercept, which is the last number. We have a 4th, 6, 6, and 4. And if you look at that Y bar on your graph, this is another quick way to find the answer as well, to knock some off of your options. The Y-intercept is that last number. How far up do you go before the line intercepts this Y? I believe it's at 6. Is that correct?
Yes.
Like 6?
Yeah.
Yeah. So automatically, when I look at the problem, the first thing I would see is it has to be B or C because they both intercept at 6. And then I would look at the slope and say, well, 4 is pretty steep and 1/4 is a lot more gradual. So I'd automatically know it's B without doing any graphing. So I should be able to answer that question in about 10 to 15 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start working that problem. We're going to start graphing these now, just because it's really good practice to graph these. So on your notepad here, we're going to start with graph. Y equals 6x plus 1/4. And I want you to notice I'm using a pen just because it's harder for y'all to see if I use pencil. But you should always use pencil on these so you can erase. Okay. So we're going to put that in yellow. We're going to get in the habit of doing this, okay? The problem itself is always in yellow. Okay, and then if you look at the problem, because it says which of the following equations represents the line shown in the graph in our problem, anytime you see that target word line, okay, the word line, you immediately need to recall this equation. So that goes in orange. So memory recall, these are things you need to memorize for the SAT. You have to know that equation, okay? And you also need to know that the M is the slope, and the B is the y-intercept. Okay. Actually, before we highlight that, I want to add something else to that. Slope is also the rate, and we'll see this in another problem. It's the rate of change. It's how far you go one direction before you go another direction. So that's sort of a rate. The y-intercept is also known as the fixed amount. It's a fixed amount, okay. So definitely keep these in orange as well. Okay. So in graphing the line, the first thing we do is over here on the right, we're going to put a 1, find M and B. Okay, find M and B. So what is our M and what is our B? Our M is going to be right here, 6. And what is our B? 1/4. Okay, so let's take a color. We'll just start over here. We'll make this red, doesn't really matter, but find M and B. Okay. Number 2, plot the B point. That means we need to draw a little graph here. Y equals 6x plus 1/4. It's going to be a pretty steep. So let's start our graph about here and get my straight edge. So right. Okay, so plot point B, the y-intercept is 1/4. If this is 1 right here, then 1/4 is about here. So let's pick a color for that. How about pink? Now, number 3, for the slope, go up or down the top number and over to the right the bottom number. So our slope is 6, which is the same as 6 over 1. So we're going to go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then over 1. And place a point. Let's pick like a green, something a little different to stand out. And we'll just keep using the green because we're going to go ahead and connect those. So actually, let me do this with 4. 4, connect. Connect the dots. Let's pick how about a blue or something is fine. Okay. So this is our first one. Okay. From looking at this, if you just looked at this picture, is the slope positive or negative?
Positive.
It's positive, that's right. We also know that because the 6 is positive here. Right, it's positive. Okay, and the y-intercept where it crosses is right here, which is between 0 and 1. This is our y, this is our x. Okay. Let's do the next one. We're going to follow the same format. Do some good graphing practice. Okay. Y graph y equals, now notice this is x over 4.
1 second, I have a bloody nose. I'll be right back.
Okay. We can just mute it. Okay. Y equals x over 4 plus 6. And look at the x plus 4. I'm going to go and put this in yellow. This is the problem we're given. But I want you to remember that x over 4 is the same as 1/4 times x. Okay, so we're going to use this version when we rewrite the problem. So we're going to do y equals 1/4 x plus 6. Okay, and we're just going to follow the same steps. 1, find m and b. So what is m and what is b? Does anyone know what m is? I'm pointing to it. Slope is 1/4. And the y-intercept is 6. Okay. Two, plot B. Plot B point. Is everyone still with me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. To plot the B point. So the B is 6. So we're going to go up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's pink. Number 3 is, look at the slope and then go up or down and then to the right. So the slope is 6. I'm sorry, the slope is 1/4. So we're going to go up 1 and over 4. So we go up 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Place our second point. Which is here. Four. Connect the dots. We'll do this in blue. We're not going to do this on every problem, just the first few until we get really good at it. And then we'll just start doing it without the highlighting. Okay. 2 down. Y equals 1/4 x. Okay. Now on the same sheet of paper, I'm just going to continue, and we're going to try to do these last two without writing all the steps. Okay? I mean, we're going to do the steps, but we're not going to write these out. So over here, we're going to say graph y equals 4x plus 6. I'm going to go and write this one down over here. Graph 6x plus 4. Sorry, y equals just so we have it on this page somewhere, let's be sure and put our target thing to remember, which is the formula y equals mx plus b. Let's keep that in orange. This is our thing we're supposed to know by memory. Okay. Number 1, find m and b. M is, the slope is 4, which is 4/1, and the b is 6. There's a really high. This one, be sure you draw your graph down here at the bottom of the page, because this is all very positive and high. I suggest drawing it like this. Okay. Plot the B point, which is our y-intercept of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now the slope. The slope is 4/1, so it's up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, to the right 1, and then connect the dots. Any questions on this one?
Nope.
Okay. The last one we're going to graph is y equals 6x plus 4. Someone's got a dog yipping in the back. I'm gonna have to mute. Is that you, Nick? I'm gonna mute yours a second.
I think that might be my Miss Kirchner.
Oh, it's your puppy. Okay.
I think it's my puppy.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. We have. Yep. Okay. So let's go ahead and draw our graph line for the last one. It's going to be really high up, so let's do the same thing. Let's draw it right about here. And then let's go right here. Okay. Find m and b. M is 6, or 6/1, and b is 4. Okay. Number 2, plot b, which is 4. So let's go up 1, 2, 3, 4. The slope, we're going to go up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and over 1. Okay. Everyone have that one done?
1 second.
Yes.
Almost? Okay. Now, we only did, these are all simplified line drawings today. If we have time next week, we'll try to go back and I'll, at some point I will do some negatives. but for the sake of time, we're just going to do these for today. Okay, the next question, number 2. A lemonade stand's profit is given by the equation P equals 2C minus 8.5. Which of the following does the number 2 most likely represent? They always have these on these types of questions. They're really, I don't like them, but oh well. So what we have to remember is that thing we talked about earlier, which is, right, the slope, the M coefficient number is also the rate, and the B is the fixed amount. So if we look at that problem, minus 8 so in order to get profit for something, right, let's say we're selling lemonade stand. What do you think they're considering the 8.5 to be? Like, in order to get profit at any point in time, even if they sell no cups of lemonade, they're always going to be behind 8.5. So that must be an initial cost, right? Maybe that's the cost of the lemonade mix and the cups.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the 8.5 is the fixed amount, which we just talked about. So in front of the C, that's going to be your M, or your slope. That 2 is your slope, so 2 is a rate. So the answer is the price of 1 cup of lemonade. These usually take a little bit of reasoning skills, and you'll either get it or you won't. I wouldn't spend too much time analyzing these, but you can mark stuff out. Okay, so B is the profit generated. Well, we know it's not profit because profit is the P, right? P equals blah, blah, blah. So it's not P, it's not profit. The other ones are about minimum number of cups it must equal, and one is the cost, must be recuperated. They're kind of fancy answers there. It's kind of complicated. If you look at it though, you can kind of reason out that if it's $2 a cup, you know, then however many cups you have, they're $2 a piece. For instance, it's pretty expensive lemonade, but I guess not at Starbucks or something like that. It'd probably be cheap. So that one's A. It's a price per cup, which is sort of a rate if you think about it. Okay, we're going to move on to number 3. 3 is a little tricky. Okay. 3. Darian needs to buy several white dress shirts for his new job. He finds one he likes for $35. It is on sale for 40% off. He also likes a blue tie that costs $21. Which of the following represents the total cost, not including tax, if Darian buys X of the white shirts that are on sale and 2 of the blue ties? Okay, here's something you definitely want to take notes on. Anytime they tell you something is 40% off, this is a little aside, okay? Actually, I'm going to do that on the board. Before we do the problem, we're going to go over a little bit of this. So, if something costs $100, okay, and it's 30% off, on your calculator, you're going to do, so what percent are you paying? If it's 30% off, what percent are you paying?
60.
Close.
30. Oh, sorry. I thought you were still talking about the 40. Never mind. You'd be paying 70%.
Yeah, correct. Right. You're paying, yeah. I'm not doing the problem just yet. Right, correct. So you're paying 70%. Okay, so on your calculator, to save time, do 0.7 times 100 and you'll get $70. Okay? 100. So let's say something is $54, and it's 25% off. How much are you paying? You're paying 75% is what you're going to be paying. Right?
I'm just writing it down.
So, yeah. So what you'll do is you'll take your calculator. If it's $54 and it's 25% off, you'll take 54 times 0.75. And this is 81/2. And if you hit the SD button, it's $40.50. Okay, that's how much you're paying. So to save time on these problems, because everything's about time on this test, we're going to look at all the problems that we see when it says it's so much off. We're going to look at it as what percent am I paying? Okay, first thing you do to save time when you look at a problem like this, my eye scans it and I see a white dress shirt and a blue tie, and then I go, it says how much of you buys this and this. Okay, first thing I need to do is lay out all my facts. Okay, so I'm going to say white shirt. You don't have to write out white shirt. If you're in a hurry on the test, you can just call it WS, white shirt. And how much is the white shirt going to be? It's $35. It's on sale for 40% off, so we're paying 0.6. $21. Okay, what we did was 35 times 0.6. Okay. How much is the blue tie? The blue tie, $21.
Look at that, Lily.
Okay. Blue tie is 21. So, okay, that's the first set of information that we have from the question. Okay. Which of the following represents the total cost, not including tax? That's a little more complicated, but we can still do it. If he buys X of the white shirts and 2 of the blue ties. So X number of white shirts means we're going to do 21 times X plus 2 of the ties. Okay. So the answer is, if you look at your answer choices, which one does it look like it's going to be?
Or, yeah, C.
It'd be C. Right. So when you first look at this, there's actually an easy way to find this answer, though, if you're doing this quickly and you don't want to work it out. If you read the problem carefully, right, you read the problem carefully, you can already mark off one answer immediately, which is, all right, if you're looking at these questions, he's going to buy how many ties?
Buying
2.
2 ties.
2 ties.
Just be double the 21, which would be 42.
B is automatically off.
Right, yep, you can already mark off B, so you know it has to have a 42 in the end, right? And then if you look at and here's the trick, do you notice that they give you your options for an answers are C equals 14x plus 42. This is probably a really common answer because what have they done? They've taken their 35 times 0.4 and they get 14. Right? It was on sale for 40% off, so a lot of students are just going to do 40% of that, and they're going to get 14. So they will trick you or try to catch you on this very simple mistake. So you know it's not 14. You're going to come out with 21. So it is, I mean, at least you can mark off one of those answers. Usually on these you can mark off more than one right away. But the main thing you have to do is you have to write down and define everything that you're given. White shirt is how much? Write it out. And don't do the 40% of the cost and then subtract it. You've just wasted about 10 seconds. So get your brain used to thinking if it's 20% off, I'm going to what I'm actually paying is 80%. Okay, that'll save you a lot of time. On a side note here, the same goes for adding a percent to a number. Hopefully we'll come across one of those later. Okay, we're going to work number, I kind of want to do, yeah, let's do number 4. Okay. So number 4, we have, what value of z satisfies the equation above? Now, who loves doing equations with fractions? Because I know I don't. I absolutely will do anything to not have to use a fraction in an equation. So as in algebra, there are not so much tricks, but there are different ways to do almost every type of equation. So I suggest to keep fractions out of everything. I turn everything into whole numbers. And that's going to be your choice, but that's how I'm going to teach this class and getting everything into whole numbers. And if you've had Algebra 1, that will be very familiar to you what I'm about to show you, so let me show you. Okay. Also, if you're rewriting an equation and you don't want to use the z because you might confuse it with a 2, if there's only one variable in the equation, one variable meaning one letter that you don't know, you can always just call it x as you're writing it out. And that's something that I do as a habit because my 2's and my z's can get very confused with my handwriting. So I'm going to write this problem out here. Solve x over 6 times 3 over 2 minus 7 equals -2 times 3x minus 4. Always double check that we copy it correctly. -2. Yes. Okay. This is yellow. Okay, this is yellow. Okay, first things first. Let's multiply through some things. Okay. The first thing you should do when solving these equations is get rid of parentheses. Okay, get rid of parentheses. So let's rewrite this. Cross-canceling. It's always best if you cross-cancel as you go. So let me rewrite this so I don't mess up with the original. X over 6. I'm going to do this one kind of slow. This has a lot of steps in it. And I know you're all different levels. So let me do this. Okay. The way I do this problem is to always keep things as simple as possible, the numbers as small as possible. You've got an x and a 3 on top, a 6 and a 2 on the bottom. the 3 and the 6 will reduce. The 3 will become 1, the 6 will become a 2. So this is going to be x over 4 minus 7. And then multiply this through, distribute. Negative 2 times 3x, negative 6x. Negative 2 times negative 4, positive 8. Okay. Now we have this fraction over here, but the rest is solid whole numbers. So what I always do is I always multiply both sides by a number that will get rid of my denominator. So I've got 4 and basically 1, 1, 1 under all of these numbers. So 4 is going to be the easiest way to get rid of everything. So I'm going to do 4 times everything. So 4 times x over 4, that'll cancel out. I'll have x minus 28 equals 4 times negative 6. Negative 24x plus 32. So this is a lot easier for me to work with without having any errors with fractions. Okay. So we have to get x on one side, right? So hold on, step 2 was multiply both sides by, would that be the greatest common factor? Or least common denominator? Least common denominator. That's the LCD, correct? Get those confused. Which is 4. Okay. Get rid of parentheses. Multiply both sides times 4. Get x alone. So this is where a little common sense comes into play. I can work this problem no matter, it doesn't matter which side I put x on, it'll both work out the same. But I'm going to do the educated guess, as we call it, and I'm going to move my x's to the left side so they're positive. So I'm going to add 24x to both sides. And that gives me 0 plus 32. That's all that's left. Over here, I will have 25x minus 28. Now I'm going to add 28 to both sides. (32) plus 28, 60. 25x. To get x alone, divide both sides by 25. 60 divided by 25 equals 12/5. Now the thing I like about this calculator, I love this little button right here, SD. Okay, you can toggle back and forth in case your answer on your test is a decimal or a fraction. You can keep hitting it back and forth depending on what you need. Okay, and it's 12/5. Okay, that's a good one there. Okay. Next week we're going to go over some more examples of these types of things, but I do want to show you one more problem, and it's slope. First, let me put this in green here. Okay. This was number, I didn't put the number on these. This is number 4, I believe. Okay. We're going to look at number 5. These are definitely nice problems. You're going to love these because these are very simple. It's a plug and chug, as we call it. Okay, the line passes through the coordinate points. What is the slope of the line? So, what is slope through 2 points? Okay, and the 2 points they give us are negative 7/2, comma 3, and negative 3/2, comma 5. Okay. We're going to do a little memory work here. Okay. Slope is delta y over delta x. What that means is it's the change in y over the change in x. Okay. It's also saying y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay. This is definitely something you want to memorize, and I'm going to show you how it's not really that bad. This is something you're just going to put in your calculator and you'll have the answer. Okay? So the most important thing is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which one you do first. Which point does not matter. You don't need to draw it. You don't need to sketch it. You're just going to pick one and start with that one, okay? So if we pick, let me write it out first. This is what we're going to put in our calculator, okay? I'm going to pick this one to start with, just to be backwards, just to show you it works both ways. 5 minus 3 over negative 3/2 minus negative 7/2. Okay? So we're going to use this fraction button right here. We're going to push this button and do 5 minus 3. Okay, I'm going to kind of wait here a second to make sure everybody's following along. Does everyone have their calculator out?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, 5 minus 3. And then you're going to hit the down to go to the bottom of the fraction. Now here you're going to have to hit the fraction again. Okay. We're going to hit the fraction and then hit this negative 3 over 2, go to the right, minus another fraction, negative 7 over 2, toggle to the right, equal. Okay? You get 1. So this is one that you should hope you get a lot of these, because these are, once you do a few of these for practice and you get really good with using your fractions on this calculator, it's very simple to do and you can just have an answer pretty quickly.
So how did you get the fraction under the 5 minus 3? It only goes under 3.
Okay, you hit the fraction, this symbol here, right?
Yep.
5 minus 3, and then I went down to the bottom of the fraction. Do you see that? I hit down.
Yep.
And what's your question now? How I got negative 3 over 2?
I type in on my calculator. It's I hit the fraction button, and the fraction only goes under the 3. Am I doing something wrong or?
Yes, you want to hit the fraction button first. You want to be sure to hit it first. You want to, yeah, so hit this before you do 5 minus 3.
All right.
Okay. And this is recording, so I definitely want y'all to go back and you can pause, pause it and watch and follow and re-watch and make sure you're doing the calculator correctly, for sure. Okay, so I chose this one to go first. Now let's do it the other way. Just so I can prove to you it doesn't matter which way we do it. Let's choose this one first. 3 minus 5 over negative 7/2 minus negative 3/2. Okay, so fraction button, 3 minus 5 down, fraction button, negative 7 down 2 over minus fraction button, negative 3 down 2, right, equals 1. The only thing you really have to remember is you're doing delta y over delta x. As long as you remember that, you shouldn't even really have to write down anything on your test. You should be able to look at the 2 points and just start putting in 5 minus 3 and this minus that. Just don't forget that you do need to include all of your negatives. This is negative minus negative. Okay? There has to be, you have to subtract in the middle because that's what delta means. It means you take one minus the other, this one minus that one. Okay. I'm going to stop recording and then we could chat for a minute.